a rainy night, a young man walked along the road, soaked and shivering. Suddenly, he spotted an old, abandoned house within the forest. Seeking refuge from the rain, he decided to enter. But he sensed something eerie about the place. Strange echoes reverberated through the corridors. As he explored, he noticed mysterious symbols and writings adorning the walls. Just as he was about to leave, he saw a shadowy figure standing by the door. Trembling, he pulled out his phone, using its light to illuminate the figure. Yet, where the light shone, there stood only an old and weathered mirror. Frantically scanning around, the shadow had vanished. However, within the mirror, behind his own reflection, someone else was smiling back at him. The man recoiled in shock, yet his reflection continued mimicking his movements. He approached the mirror in horror, realizing his reflection's face was different from his own. Its eyes were crimson, its skin pallid and torn. The reflection grinned slyly at him. His heart raced, but the reflection started advancing toward him. In an instant, he found himself trapped within the confines of the mirror, suspended between reality and a dreamlike state. Darkness engulfed him. With a shriek, he jolted awake. He lay in a drenched bed, sweat-soaked and breathless. He convinced himself it had been a nightmare, yet the eerie expression from the mirror lingered vividly in his memory. He vowed never to return to that forsaken house again. He had tried everything to forget that night of horror, yet the haunting figure from his dream and the eerie reflection in the old mirror continued to haunt his nightmares. Over time, he avoided recounting the events of that night, keeping it a secret from everyone. But a deep sense of unease and curiosity lingered within him. One day, he heard the story of the old house from an elderly resident of the town. The house had been witness to numerous tragedies due to a cursed mirror. The figure reflected in the mirror represented the dark emotions within a person, attempting to take control. Consequently, the mirror had plagued many with nightmares, forcing them to confront their inner fears. The young man was shaken by what he heard. Perhaps, he pondered, the mirror that night had reflected his own inner fears. This realization gave him newfound courage. He felt ready to confront that dark memory and decided to return to the old house. But this time, he was prepared to battle the darkness within him. With determination, he returned to the old house. His heart raced, yet his resolve grew stronger. Step by step, he traversed through the house, each step recalling the events of that fateful night. Finally, he stood before the old mirror. The mirror reflected his own image back at him. This time, he felt no fear, only a deep breath of relief. His reflection mirrored his own, but he sensed what represented the dark emotions within him. Taking a step closer to his reflection, he began speaking earnestly and confidently to himself. "You're not the master of my fears. I'm taking control. I accept these dark emotions, but instead of fighting you, I'll understand and embrace you." Suddenly, the mirror began to glow, and the dark reflection vanished. The young man felt a newfound peace and strength within himself. In that moment, he walked away from that house, having confronted the darkness within and learned to control it. No longer would his fears dictate his path. He had made peace with them